today we're going to be talking about angle relationships in triangles. You have a focal again. Okay, so we're going to look at the first flap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the stuff that's on the top of the first flap, and then we're going to talk about stuff inside, okay? Then we're going to go to the next one, and the next one, and so forth, okay? Alright, so the first one is triangle sum theorem, and we're going to have a picture and actually what it's called, okay? Alright, so first flap is going to say triangle sum theorem. Notice that we have a picture of triangle ABC, and then I said that the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C equals 180. So no matter what type of triangle is, the three angles in the triangle add up to equal 180. Okay, the inside flap is going to say the sum of the angle measures in a triangle is 180 degrees. 180 degrees. Okay. Alright, we're going to do an example on the left side flap. Okay. So this is an inside flap. So on the left side flap, we're going to do an example. 1 second. Okay, here's the example. Press pause so you can write it down. Alright, so you were supposed to learn in this that the triangle sum theorem tells you that all three angles will add up to equal 180. The sum of the three angles will add up to equal 180. So it means we're going to add everything up to equal 180. So we have 2y plus 2 plus 3y plus 13 plus 5y minus 5 equals 180. Going to combine like terms, 2y, 3y, and 5y. So we have 10y, then 2, 13, and negative 5 at plus 10 equals 180. Minus 10 on both sides. So you're left with 10y equals 170. Divide by 10. So y equals 17. It asks you to find the measure of angle B. So you're going to plug in y for that y. So you're going to have 3 times 17 plus 13. And that would give you 64 degrees. Okay, the next flap is for triangle exterior angles theorem. Exterior, remember, means outside. You're going to have this picture here underneath it. Alright, in the inside, you're going to have this. And inside you're going to have this. The measures of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of its interior angles, the remote interior angles. When you think of remote, not the thing you change the television with, think of like people will say, we found her in a remote area. So usually that means secluded, far away. So in that case, angles 1 and 2 would be remote angles compared to angle 4. Again, so angles 1 and angle 2 would be remote compared to angle 4. Because 3 is right next to angle 4, so it can't be remote. Alright? So it says that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 4. And I have a picture that represents that. So notice here, I have this piece of patty paper where I traced angle 1 and traced angle 2, and they fit perfectly inside of angle 4 because the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 4. Okay. Okay, on the outside flap, we're going to write this example down. Press pause if you need to. Alright, so notice that the exterior angle is the 126, and the remote interior angles would be angle H and angle J. And then the exterior one would be the 126. So you would write your equation like this. 6x minus 1 plus 5x plus 17 equals 126. So then you combine like terms. So 6x and 5x is 11x. Negative 1 plus 17 plus 16 equals 126. Minus 16. So you get 11x equals 110. Divide by 11. So x equals 10. And they only asked me to find the value of x, so I would be done with this question. And the next flap is going to state the acute angles of a right triangle are complementary. The acute angles of a right triangle are complementary. Remember, complementary means adds up to equal 90. So notice that angle F was already 90, so the two acute angles would be angle D and angle E. So together they add up to equal 90. Okay, in the inside flap, we're not going to write on both sides, we're just going to write on the inside. So write this example down. Press pause if you need to. One of the acute angles in a right triangle measures 22 and 1/3 degrees. What is the measure of the other acute angle? So these, if you actually don't memorize them, it won't hurt you, but it's like I'm like giving you a shortcut. So if you see it's a right triangle and that means two angles are acute. Instead of adding all of them up to equal 180, you would just need to add up two of them to equal 90. So you would do, they told you it was a right triangle. They told you that one of them was 22 and 1/3. So you're supposed to know that they are complementary. So you would do 90 minus 22 and 1/3 to get 67 and 2/3. And this one is the last flap. The measures of each angle of an equal angular triangle is 60 degrees. I already told you that. We already talked about that. So that means the angle A, angle B, and angle C all equal to each other, and they all equal 60. Okay, write this in the inside flap for an example. So notice that this picture has tick marks. 1, 2, 3 tick marks, so you know that all the angles and all the sides are equal. So that means that this angle here has to equal 60. So you have 5x minus 5 equals 60. Add 5. So 5x equals 65. Divide by 5. So x equals 13. Okay, on the next page, so this is not your photo, we have one more theorem. It's called the third angles theorem. It states if two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then the third pair of angles, there should be angles, are congruent. So we will draw this picture here for an example. Okay, so notice that angle A is congruent to angle F. B is congruent to angle E. So according to third angles theorem, angle C is congruent to angle D. Okay, we're going to do one example. notice that angle B and angle E are both right angles, so they are congruent to each other. Angle A and angle D both have arc marks, so they're congruent to each other. So automatically C is congruent to F. So our equation would be y squared equals 3y squared minus 72. We subtract 3y squared on both sides, so I'm left with 2y squared equals negative 72. Divide by 2. Divide by negative 2, sorry. So I'm left with y squared equals 36. And to get rid of a squared, you have to do the square root. So the square root of 36 is 6.